Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another great episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella. I'm in studio today with JDash.
I am your co-host.
Co-host Dash. Ready to mock this draft?
Ready to do this.
Mock this way.
Go check out 1 through 16 if you haven't heard it yet.
If you don't know, now you know. Follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Follow me on Twitter at betjimtowin.
Don't follow me on Twitter because I don't have an account.
But you can follow them on YouTube at Dash Flow Radio.
Please believe. Go listen to some dope tracks.
Get it. This guy we got San Diego taking at 17 probably likes your dope tracks.
He would if he heard them.
Malcolm Brown, the defensive tackle out of Texas. You know he loves to get down.
Yeah, they need some help on their defense. They were very poor against the run last season, and they only had 26 sacks. They need an edge pass rusher, too.
Believe it. The one thing San Diego did right last year was get rid of Cam Thomas because the Steelers signed him thinking he could shore up some defensive line depth, and he was garbage. But they definitely... The way San Diego likes to win is kind of similar to a team like Pittsburgh. They want to run the ball well, play good defense, and get good play-action passing. When Philip Rivers has a good running game behind him, he's a pretty damn good quarterback. And if he has a good defense on the other side of the ball, helping him get a short field, they're going to put points on the board and contend for that division. So if you bring a guy like Brown in that shores up the defense a little bit, even if you can stuff the run, you control the game by controlling the line of scrimmage.
They'd like some help on the offensive side, too. They have their line set, but they're still looking for options at right tackle. There's still good linemen on the board. And they could use an every down running back, too. Ryan Matthews is a free agent, and Brandon Oliver had a hot start, but he cooled off towards the end of the season. In our last mock draft, we had Todd Gurley going at this pick. Since then, Melvin Gordon looks like the better running back to take first out of the two. But I still think that it's a better option to go defense at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot more questions now about Gurley's health after the combine. A couple doctors checked out his knee. Gordon definitely looks like the better back. He looks like the back that has a shot at going in the first round. You don't see a lot of first-round running backs anymore. Le'Veon Bell was not a first-round pick. He was a second-round, kind of a high second-round, mid-level anyway.
Rashard Mendenhall was a first-round pick.
And he sucks. So, yeah, you just don't see backs go this high anymore at 17, so I definitely think they would go with Malcolm Brown. He's a big body.
Like we said in the first mock segment, is the running back class is very deep, too, so they could draft a running back later in the draft as well.
Yeah, third, fourth round, you could find a back to give you quality yards. Backs don't have a lot of longevity anymore, so who cares? You get one third, fourth round, run him into the ground for 3 years, dump him. Brown's a big guy at 6'2", 319. He's a penetrating big guy. He's not so much of a run stuffer in the sense of a 3-4 nose tackle. He's more of like an Ndamukong Suh. He's a big guy who can move a little bit and get some pressure straight up the middle on quarterbacks. And we've seen even the greatest quarterbacks such as Tom Brady and Peyton Manning struggle when you get pressure straight up the middle. So not only does this guy stop the run, he also can rush the passer straight ahead. It seems like a win-win.
All right, let's go to number 18, the Kansas City Chiefs. They are not expected to be a big player in free agency. They already released Anthony Fasano, A.J. Jenkins, and Donnie Avery. Dwayne Bowe could be gone if he doesn't take a pretty hefty pay cut, which he deserves.
Bowe's garbage. He didn't even catch a touchdown pass last year. None of their wide receivers did.
Really? Their biggest needs are wide receiver, inside linebacker, and offensive lineman. They could really draft each of those positions in the first 3 rounds, and they could look at D-back and D-line as well.
They're like an odd mess, where they're not really a mess, but they don't really seem to have it together. You think Andy Reid would have been able to build a more solid roster over the couple years that he's been there. They seem like they almost took a step back after last season.
It's Alex Smith, man. He just wins ugly.
That's what I was just going to say. Alex Smith isn't that flashy guy. He doesn't look good when he's doing it. I guess he gets the wins. They've been close to the playoffs or in the playoffs the last few years. But it's weird. I don't know. I don't feel well about their team overall.
I'm not a big fan either. I'm not a big fan of Alex Smith, really. I don't think he is a winner, but he's not going to win championships.
Well, what about our boy Terrell Pryor, straight out of Jeanette, J-Town, right down the road? He signed with Kansas City. I've been following him on Facebook. Pryor, you want to listen to this? Follow us on Twitter, bet_the_spread. You think he can push Smith for some time or what?
Maybe a package? I don't think he's going to overtake Alex Smith now.
Hey, he outran the Steelers' longest quarterback run in the history of the game, right? Touchdown run?
Yeah, please believe.
He's got at least as much talent as Alex Smith.
He's a better athlete, I'll give you that.
Definitely a better athlete. To me, he seems like a pretty good guy. He's always going to Children's Hospital, taking pictures with these young kids, some of these sick kids, giving them some hope. He's a good dude.
Well, if he does get some playing time, it'd be nice to see him bring a receiver in here. Like I said, they already cut Donnie Avery. Dwayne Bowe could be gone. They could go after a receiver here in the first round, but I think it's more important they look at the offensive line.
Yeah, shore up that line. Reed likes to run the ball. Andrus Peat here, the 6'7", 313-pound offensive lineman from Stanford. We've seen, DeCastro out of Stanford kind of develop a little slower than we hoped. We thought maybe being a Stanford guy, he'd be a little faster to catch on. But I like DeCastro's play. So, you got Peat coming out of there. That's good pedigree. I would have a lot of faith in the guy. In 2014, as a junior, he was voted first-team All-American by the Sporting News and second-team All-American by the AP and CBS Sports. He was an Outland Trophy semifinalist in 2014 and started the final 27 games of his career at Stanford. That's longevity.
Please believe in him. Many people believe he's the best lineman in the draft over Brandon Scherff. And I wouldn't disagree necessarily. Scherff's more of a run blocker. Peat can pass block a little better than him. But a couple other options. TJ Clemmings could go here, or Lael Collins. And then if they wanted to look at inside linebacker, they could go Benardrick, McKinney, or Paul Dawson. But I think it's still a little too early for one of those two inside linebackers.
Yeah, and most mocks I've seen, they've gone a little bit lower, 20 or after, maybe 22 or after. Kansas City, they're going to do well to shore up their line, man. They got Jamal Charles back there. Hopefully he'll be healthy this year. You put a strong offensive line out there, you might get a touchdown pass to one of your wide receivers from Alex Smith.
All right, let's move on to our number 19 pick, the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, they're your second favorite team, right, Dash?
You're dead wrong, but they did have Andre Rison for a while, and he played for half the league, though, so I can't like every team he played for.
Waterfalls. Oh, wait, that was right eye.
Yeah, left eye. Rest in peace. She isn't chasing any more waterfalls.
She tried to burn down the man's house.
Yeah, I don't think he likes her.
Well, I don't think they're going to draft Andre Rison at this spot, buddy, so it's going to be a disappointment for you.
No, in our first segment of the mock draft, we had them taking a wide receiver anyways, but the GM did say they want to stay away from a wide receiver in the first round and draft offensive linemen and defensive linemen, so we're calling their bluff at number 12, but at number 19, I think they will go one of those ways.
See, I heard that Cleveland, they're going to mix it up a little bit this year with that new owner who likes to embezzle money. They're going to do this new thing with their draft prospects. You remember when MTV used to have the Rock and Jock games? They're going to have mock and jock games going on. They're going to get these guys in shorts and flags. They're going to get Nelly on one team and Michael Irvin on the other team, and it's going to be all-out chaos.
Josh Gordon can play in that game.
He'll fit right in with Michael Irvin and Josh Hamilton.
But yeah, on the defensive side, they could use help, as we said. They have that Desmond Bryant, who they think is pretty decent, but his upside's limited. And then Armani Bryant has health and character concerns, so they could definitely look to shore up their D-line at some point, if not the first round.
You always need depth at every position. Anybody who says they don't need depth at a position is a moron and apparently doesn't watch NFL football, because every single player out there is one injury away from not playing again. So you're always looking for depth. The thing for me is Cleveland's defense played better than their offense last year. Their defense kept them in games. The only reason they were 7-5 at one point, maybe not the only reason, because Bubby Hoyer was playing all right. But you got to shore up the O-line. You got to protect Johnny Rehab. You got no running game back there, so you're going to have a running game by committee. So that means your offensive line is going to have to be the star of your running game instead of your running back being the star of your running game. So they're going to have to shore it up, and I think Lael Collins, the tackle out of LSU, is a good fit here. He got a high grade on NFL.com, 6.16. The highest grade was in the low 7s, so it's not like people are getting 9s and 10s here.
The top two linemen are off the board, so I think this would be the best pick. There's also that DJ Humphries people were starting to talk about could jump up into the first round.
He's friends with Bobby Brown, humping around.
But really, there's people to think Leo Collins is more the number 1 or number 2 lineman.
Everybody's mocking around. Collins is 6'4", 305 pounds. He was named second-team All-American by USA Today and the AP as a senior in 2014. He won the Jacobs Blocking Trophy as the top offensive lineman in the SEC, started all 13 games at left guard as a sophomore, then started 26 games at left tackle his junior and senior seasons. So this guy can play anywhere on the offensive line if needed. A guy similar to an Alan Faneca back in the day where he played guard great. One year we had no tackles. We had to bump him to tackle because we had better backup guards. He was so good at guard, he still made the Pro Bowl at guard that year. I'm not saying Collins is a Pro Bowl player in his first year, but he's that type of player who can go anywhere along the line that you need him.
And even though we said they're going to take Devontae Parker at number 12, they could actually look to take another wide receiver later in the draft too, because really they have nothing. They did bring in Brian Hartline this week. Maybe they'll sign him. They lost Miles Austin too, though, so I just really see that as an upgrade to him.
Yeah, it's a deep draft at wide receiver, everybody keeps saying, so they could find a steal maybe in the 4th or 5th round. But if with Devontae Parker still being there up at 12,
yeah,
then for me, that I'm taking a big play guy because he helps out Manziel just as much as this offensive tackle does. It's all about helping Johnny Football if you're Cleveland. If you want him to succeed, you got to put the players around him. As much as I rip on the guy, if you want him to be a good quarterback, you can't give him nothing. You got to give him something.
Pick 20 is the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we know they want a new quarterback, and there's a lot of talk they could move up as high as number 4 in the draft to get
Marcus Mariota.
Correct.
Ding, ding. What did I win?
Nothing. I have nothing.
A smile on your face is all I need, Dash.
But listen, if they're not going to get a quarterback, they're going to go defense here and a skilled player. They could look at safety or cornerback.
Yeah, and I hear they're going after Byron Maxwell. I forget his first name. Maxwell, the corner from Seattle.
Yeah.
The big-time free agent. If they land him in free agency, they probably will not go corner with the first pick. But again, none of this starts for another couple days. The tampering period has started in the NFL, legal tampering with quotes around that, where you're allowed to whisper and talk to people behind everybody's back, but you're not allowed to make anything official. I don't know why they just make it official.
They did release cornerback Kerry Williams this week, and they're actually hoping Wayne somehow falls to pick 20, but after the combine, there's no chance of that happening, it looks like.
I don't think so either.
But really, with the number 1 safety still on the board, I think that would have to be the pick here.
I think Landon Collins, the safety out of Alabama, is just as good as a pick as Wayne's would be. Just as good as Wayne's is as the top corner. That's how much better Collins is than the next best safety. The next best guy I've seen on most people's list is Shaq Thompson, and people can't even decide whether he's a safety or a linebacker. So when the second-ranked guy doesn't even have a position solidified, you know he's head and shoulders above the rest of the players at his position in this draft.
Yeah, but it doesn't always mean that he's a good player. It just means it's a weak position, possibly.
Well, in 2014, he was voted unanimous first-team All-American by Walter Camp and a whole bunch of other things that are abbreviated that I don't know the abbreviations for. He played 41 career games, started the last 23, was first-team All-SEC selection by the Associated Press and league coaches, and a finalist for the Nagurski Lott Impact Trophy and Jim Thorpe Award in 2014. He led his team in tackles, 103, and interceptions, 3 as a junior in 2014. He played both safety spots and started 3 games at dimeback during his 3 seasons at Alabama. That's versatility. Again, that goes a long way in the NFL now. 6 foot 228. If he could play physical as a dimeback, inside on a slot receiver, you really shut down teams' offense. This is a guy that can go up against a Rob Gronkowski or a Julius Thomas and shut them down. He's got the size to do it. He's got the demeanor to do it. I'm not saying he's a mean guy, but he plays mean. You know what I mean? He wants to knock your head off and watch you try to get up after he's done. I would love him to slide to Pittsburgh. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Offensively, like we said, they were looking for a quarterback, and they just traded LaShawn McCoy this week for Kiko Alonso to help shore up their defense a little bit. And like we said, the running backs are deep, so they will probably look at a running back later in this draft.
Yeah, maybe third round, I'd say.
Possibly,
a good spot for them to take a running back. They got a lot of cap space. They could do crazy things in free agency.
Pick 21, the Cincinnati Bengals.
I can't do a growl noise, sorry. I only got bird calls.
They had the number 21 pick 2 years ago, and they took Tyler Eifert.
You loved Tyler Eifert when they took him. You made me take him in fantasy, and he blew goat nuts.
He was good the first game.
As long as you get me that first meaningless game of the season, then we're good.
But really, they could use help at cornerback. But the problem is, last year they took a corner in the first round, and you really don't see teams taking cornerbacks
back-to-back years.
Yeah, in the first round. They took Darquez Denard last year. They could also look at a pass rusher. It's the biggest priority on the team.
A lot of teams' biggest priority is pass rusher. Cincinnati definitely needs it. As much as I hate Joe Flacco, somehow that dude always seems to win football games. Of course, Ben Roethlisberger's win games because he's the best quarterback in the NFL. So if you want any chance at stopping him, you got to rush him. And who gives a crap about Cleveland? So we're just not even going to bother with him. But pass rush is huge in this draft. There's apparently a lot of talent in the first round, especially. I can see Cincinnati taking Bud Dupree, the outside linebacker from Kentucky. He's rising up some people's boards, though, so he may not be available at 21.
Yeah, I definitely seen him going higher in a lot of these drafts. And really, he might be the last of the top-end outside linebackers.
You want to hear something crazy? This guy is 6'4", 269 pounds, and ran a 4.5 640. That's moving.
Yeah, it's beast mode.
That's moving, man. He's 270 pounds. He's got a 42-inch vertical and he's 6'4". Good luck throwing over the top on this guy.
He looks like he'd kill me.
Yeah, definitely. He'd probably like your music, too. Dupree, if you hear this, follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Dupree was a team captain in 2014. He finished his senior season with 7.5 sacks, 23.5 for his career. It was the most by any active SEC player. He finished second on the team in tackles with 74, 12.5 were for a loss. He had his first career interception against South Carolina, returned it for 6 yards for the game-winning touchdown. Sounds like James Harrison, just 94 or less yards. He did start the final 38 games of his career straight.
That's what the Bengals need, someone that's going to be in there every game. They're still showing a little bit of interest in that Shaq Thompson that you were mentioning a little bit ago. But really, I think...
What position?
Well, it's going to be for linebacker. They're desperate for bodies at linebacker right now. But really, I think he's going to drop out of the first round. Another thing they could look at is offensive line. That their left tackle, Andrew Whitworth, and Andre Smith are both in the last year of their deals. There's still going to be some decent linemen here. It's a possibility, but they have to get a linebacker if one's there. There's no doubt about it.
The one thing I want to say before we move on about Dupree, he is a little slow to diagnose some plays, so sometimes he does get a late start, which when you're a tall guy, that could hurt you, because if you're not coming off the ball right away, you get jammed, you're on your back of your heels, the play's over before you even get involved.
Needs to take some focus pills.
That's it. Not allowed. It's against the rules.
All right, let's move on to pick number 22.
The only pick that matters.
Yeah, our very own Pittsburgh Steelers.
Brah, brah. Yes, the Steelers make bird noises.
Now, you look offensively, they have some needs. They could use a slot receiver. They could use a little bit of depth on their line. They could use another running back to spell Le'Veon Bell a little bit.
Definitely need another running back.
Possibly another tight end they could use.
Yeah, definitely could use another tight end too, because Miller ain't staying young forever, folks.
No, yeah, that happened like 5 years ago. He stopped being young.
The guy had like 70 catches last year, man. I ain't hating.
So old people are good too. But anyways, none of those are worth first-round picks. So it's definitely going to be defense here. Now, if Bud Dupree drops, it could possibly be him. If Landon Collins drops, I think it would definitely be him.
The Steelers may make a play to move up for Landon Collins. They made a play and moved up to get Troy Polamalu. If they really feel this guy could be a game changer like Polamalu was for 10 years, at least, at a high level of play, I'm saying, maybe not just with the team, he could be a big addition for the Steelers defense.
Yeah, Polamalu's all but gone.
Yeah, they basically said retire or we're cutting you.
So that would be a huge additions if they could land Landon.
Landon. Mock this way, Landon.
Start a petition. Landon.
They do need a lot of defensive help, the Steelers. They need a lot of help at cornerback. Ike Taylor's gone. Willie Gay is no real number 2 to me. Cortez Allen is no real number 4, let alone number 1. You got McCain and Blake. They're just backups, nickel backs. You know,
I like them, but
they're good
yeah,
fill-ins. They're not starters.
They're not 1 and 2.
I could see Pittsburgh maybe taking Marcus Peters here, the cornerback out of Washington. He's a bigger guy at 6 foot, 197 pounds. He has the prototype size for the position. His fluidity in his hips are real well. He plays well against the run. He competes hard out of press man coverage and tries to intimidate receivers with his physicality. Those are words I like to see for a Steelers defender. Physicality. Intimidate.
He intimidates his coach, too.
That's right. And if Todd Haley starts mouthing off to Ben Roethlisberger, he can just walk over there and choke Haley.
But Steeler fans like to say, you know what, that's not the way the Steelers play. They don't bring in these type of players. It's not really true. They do bring in these type of players. If they think he is good, they will bring him in.
You better believe it. They signed LeGarrette Blount. He's been knocking people out since college.
Well, who was the defensive lineman that was running people over in the streets?
Oh, I forget his name. It was like a weird name. It was hard to say. But yeah, they just tried to cover it all up.
Then there was the Florida running back we brought in.
Yeah, Chris Rainey. He's punching women in the face.
Yeah, so it's not true. We do bring in players like that. Not all of them are going to work out, but Marcus Peters definitely could. And I heard it's all taken out of proportion a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to choke your coach, man. If they're mouthing off to you and you don't really like what they're saying, the only way to get your opinion across is choke that bastard, and then he'll start to respect you, right?
Well, really, I think what it was is they're trying to say he didn't choke him. Now he actually just pushed him.
He lovingly embraced him around the throat with his hands.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, I'll buy it.
But Kevin Johnson could be another pick here if he falls. Some people actually don't think Kevin Johnson is the number 2 corner in the draft and think Peters is a little higher. So it could be someone like Kevin Johnson. Trey Waynes is not a possibility.
No way he drops to Pittsburgh.
But there's other guys. P.J. Williams, he's in the back end of some first-round mock drafts. Who was the one guy you were talking about you don't like? He just had a good combine.
Byron Jones from Connecticut.
Yeah.
He broke the world record in the broad jump, and all of a sudden he's a first-round pick. No, thank you.
Yeah, that's how it works. Maybe Oakland will draft him.
Maybe. They're going to draft him and White. They're going to draft the fastest player at 3 different positions, and they're all going to fail. I heard some moron at my job today, and, I mean, this does kind of make some sense, but he's talking about coaching, like, midget football. And the one, I can coach patience, I can coach skill, but I can't coach speed. Yeah, but you can't make them work out so they get faster, you dumbass.
Yeah, you can definitely get faster.
Some people are stupid.
All right, with the Steelers out of the way, let's go with 23rd pick, the Detroit Lions.
Can we just keep talking about Pittsburgh till the end of the mock draft?
It would be nice, but that would be no fun for anybody else.
All right. The Raiders fans would get mad at us.
Now, they need a lot of help on their offensive line. They could use interior linemen. They need a right tackle. They need to find another running back, too. Melvin Gordon or Todd Gurley are definitely possibilities here. For the line, like I was saying, maybe TJ Clemmings or Cameron Irving. Now, defensively, they could use another cornerback to pair with Darius Slay. And then there's the big issue, which is re-signing Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley. And that's going to be their biggest hole. So the thing they're going to do here most likely is try to draft a defensive tackle. Now, if Malcolm Brown fell here, that would be a perfect pick for them.
Losing your 2 starting defensive tackles for a team that runs a 4-3 and a team that won most of their games with defense last year, giving up around 16 points a game, how do you survive? How do you lose Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley and survive? Because they're both great players. I know Fairley was a pain in the ass most of the time and would come into camp out of shape and kind of had a bad attitude. But Suh used to kick people in the balls and stomp on people's ankles and stomp on people's faces. I mean, it's not like he was much better as far as being a person.
Yeah, it's going to be important for him to try to get Ndamukong Suh back here, because if not, they are really going to have to spend the top end of their draft on the defensive front.
Hey, even if they sign Sue, I still think they need to go after defensive tackle Eddie Goldman out of Florida State. Like I said, they won with defense last year. Not that their offense is going to be as bad as it was last year again. But Sue and Fairley were both first-round picks. You lose talent like that, you got to replace it. Goldman's a big guy at 6'4", 336 pounds. He has outstanding power in his upper body. He plays with good hip flexion. He explodes out of his stance and into defenders with force and leverage. He's a violent player. Kind of fits in with Sue. That maybe they can chop people in the nuts together. They can clothesline people. You know, hurry up and hold hands real quick. When they call hot, just clothesline the center.
Well, if he's anything like Sue, I don't like him already.
Probably not. He's from Florida State. He hangs out with Jameis Winston.
So what about the loss of Reggie Bush? How would you fill that? Would you look at later in the draft, or would you look in the free agency?
You might be able to sign a free agent. What about a Justin Forsett? I heard that
I was thinking the same thing.
Baltimore's probably not going to re-sign him. They're looking to maybe draft somebody and go a little younger at the position.
We'll have to see what they do at pick 26 here when we get there.
Detroit just needs a back that can catch the ball a little bit. Maybe not even a lot. People get a misconception that they like to throw the ball all over the lot. They would really like to be able to run the ball normally and do regular play-action passing game like most of the other NFL teams that are successful. Imagine Megatron with a running back where you actually have to worry about him getting the ball. He's going to get over the top a whole bunch.
Yeah, I like Joik Bell, but it's not like he's the answer there.
He's not a game changer. What about our buddy Eddie B's second favorite team, Arizona Cardinals? We got hated on him with our Arizona pick last time.
Well, by one person who didn't know what he was talking about.
No, he made absolutely no sense. His comment was lame and very uneducated. Thanks for providing me with entertainment.
Well, he was just calling me a dumbass the whole time.
Well, yeah.
Or maybe you. I don't know. One of us.
Probably
We're
me.
all dumbass.
That's all right. I'll take it.
But anyway, their biggest needs are pass rushers, linebackers. That's what they need.
You know what else they need? And I'm not saying in the first round, so before, I'm not even going to say his name because I don't want to give him any credit on the air. Before he jumps all over my back again, you guys need a quarterback, Arizona. I don't care what you say. Carson Palmer will not get the job done over the long term. He may have another good season this year. He may get you into the playoffs this year. You're not going to win the Super Bowl with Palmer at quarterback. You need to find a guy. You may not be able to find him in this draft. I'm not saying you have to reach, waste your picks and whatnot.
I don't know. I really think they're going to address the situation in this draft. They're going to try to draft a QB. Not first round, like you said, but they are going to try to draft a QB in the third, fourth round, maybe, if there's one worth it. Maybe Hundley in the second.
That's kind of a reach for me with Hundley, but maybe the third round I would take him.
Hey, they need a QB. I know they like Carson Palmer out there. I've noticed that from the fans, but...
Well, they're all fans of mostly old people, and old people like old people.
He got hurt again last season. He's 35 years old. He's not going to last forever.
Nope. They also have no running game.
Yeah, they averaged 3.3 yards per carry on the ground last year, which was worse than the league.
Garbage.
And they've been openly talking about wanting to add interior blockers. And the one option they could choose is TJ Clemmings.
The tackle out of Pitt. He's not much of an interior guy, though. He's more an edge blocker.
I'm sure they can move him in the guard.
I guess they could, but when somebody's good at tackle, you almost like a slap in the face to move him to guard. Well, Cardinals fans, if you hated our pick last time, you're going to hate it again because it's the same damn guy. Benardrick McKinney, the inside linebacker out of Mississippi State. McKinney brings what they need in linebacker and a pass rusher at the same time. It's 6'4", 246 pounds. He's a big guy. He only ran a 4.66. I'm not saying that's slow because he is a linebacker, a bigger guy, but that's not really fast either. Really concerning is he only had 16 bench reps. I don't know if maybe he took some estrogen pills in the morning or maybe he might have his period or something. Dude can't bench more than 16 times. He does have good straight line speed to chase players out in the open. He can take on a running back and tackle him one-on-one. He has the skill to do that. He can stay with them. He doesn't get his ankles broken with these horrible juke moves. I just don't see him being great against the pass.
Yeah, it is a possibility he falls out of the first round. Denzel Perryman and Paul Dawson are also options. But I'm sticking with McKinney as the #1 inside linebacker.
If he can just shore up his footwork a little bit in the passing game and maybe his fluidity, he'd be much better. That's really his problem. He looks like he's lost out there moving around. It's awkward to watch him try to cover somebody.
Now, we know they have Andre Ellington too, but he had trouble staying on the field last year, and they're not quite sure he is an every down back. So I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have them taking Melvin Gordon too.
Gordon definitely could be a possibility here. Like I said a little bit earlier, it just worries me to project a running back in the first round anymore. Not very many of them go early. But if somebody has a need there, Arizona really feels like they need him, they don't think he's going to drop to 24 or, whatever pick they have in the second round. They're going to scoop him up.
Okay, pick 25, the Carolina Panthers. Now, last season they wanted to draft an offensive tackle, but they ended up missing out. They didn't find one worth the value.
They might take Cam Newton's cousin, Ram Newton. He's a defensive lineman.
They're expected to drop defensive end Greg Hardy. I don't think they did yet, did they?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, they already did. Okay, yep. So Greg Hardy's gone. They also need help on the defensive line and D-back. They released veteran safety Thomas DeCoud after only signing him a year ago.
They tricked us into taking Mike Mitchell from him last offseason.
And another thing they want to do is bring in another big-time wide receiver opposite of Kelvin Benjamin to help Cam Newton out.
What about somebody you think they'd take a flyer on a Percy Harvin? Or maybe go after Randall Cobb?
I would definitely try to do that if they have the cap room, yeah. But I think their biggest thing they need to do, no doubt, is shore up the offensive line. Last year, this team was terrible up front.
Which one of the running backs did they release? Or they're going to release?
Williams?
Yeah. Yeah, when you have Williams and Stewart back there, you should be able to run the ball. I can't see why they can't. That's pathetic.
Stewart's a pretty good running back. I still like him.
Yeah, well, they need to add offensive tackle TJ Clemmings from Pitt. He's 6'5", 309. He started all 13 games at right tackle as a senior. He was named second-team All-American by Football Writers Association of America and first-team All-ACC. He was voted team captain his senior season, so he's a little bit of a leader already. He actually appeared in 8 games at defensive end in both his sophomore season in 2011 and his freshman season in 2010. So the guy knows it from both sides of the ball. He's long, has an athletic frame, actually a former high school basketball player too, so he has good foot quickness. He's a really good athlete. The only problem with him is he's still pretty inexperienced at the position and a little bit raw. But if you're willing to take a flyer on a guy who's this good of an athlete, you need offensive linemen that can move around if you have Cam Newton back there, because you know Cam doesn't stand still very much.
Yeah, you got to keep Cam Newton healthy.
Yeah, he's the only way you're going to win.
Poor guy. I feel so bad for him.
He's the Ben Roethlisberger of the NFC. He gets pummeled. Refs never call penalties because he's big. Oh, he can handle it. Look how big he is. His offensive line just let him get demolished last year. Poor Ben had been doing that the last couple years.
All right, well, let's move on here. Pick 26, the Baltimore Ravens. Like we said a few picks ago, they need help at running back if they lose Justin Forsett. Another thing they really need to do is shore up their secondary. It wouldn't surprise me if they went cornerback first round here. Someone like Jalen Collins. They probably hope Kevin Johnson falls or Marcus Peters. They would definitely take a long, hard look at one of them.
I don't think either one of them are making it past Pittsburgh if they're still on the board. They'd both have to still be there.
One of their best corners, Ladarius Webb, he's getting older now. He's 29 years old, and they're asking him to take a pay cut. So we'll have to see what happens with that, if he's going to take the pay cut, or they might end up just cutting him and looking to sign a corner or take one high in the draft here. Offensively, they could use a wide receiver too. Torrey Smith's a free agent.
Jacoby Jones is gone.
Yeah, Jacoby Jones is gone. Steve Smith's getting older. He's still a beast, though. He's been a beast forever, but he's not going to last forever. So people are talking about Jalen Strong, Sammy Coates, or Dorial Green-Beckham at this pick, but I really think the number one running back still on the board. I'd rather go with him over one of these.
Fifth best wide receiver? Yeah, definitely. When you have two needs, and I think we mentioned this in the first segment we did, if you have two equal needs, you take the one, the best player's still there. You don't reach. When you reach, that's when you fail. You can't fall in love with somebody over one combine drill or just the interview, or maybe they had one big game in college. You got to look at the whole body of work and make a good informed decision, because your first round pick should be linked to your team for at least 5 years. If you don't have your first round pick for at least the next 5 years, you didn't do it right.
But yeah, if it's not Melvin Gordon here, it's going to be Todd Gurley. But like we said, Gordon's the better option just because of Gurley's health concerns. Yeah.
Gordon's 6'1", 215. That's a little bit big or tall, I guess I should say, for a running back. He runs inside and outside real well. He doesn't really lose any speed. He's a good cutback blocker. He can create space. He ran a 4.52 40. That's not great, but it's not bad either. He did have a 4.07 20-yard shuttle, so it shows good quickness to the hole. He has good feet, which is good for a big back. You see a lot of big running backs that can only move forward and, just kind of fall down after they make contact. Gordon actually has the ability to make maybe 1 or 2 cuts. He's not going to Barry Sanders you and bust out spin moves in the open field.
He's no Le'Veon Bell.
No, he's not going to be Le'Veon Bell, but he definitely can be that one cut-and-go runner. And once he gets going, he's probably going to at least fall forward when you try to tackle him. 19 reps at the combine. That's better than some of the linebackers we talked about.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to say that Gordon should try to shore up in his pro game is not going wide all the time. In college, he was a little bit faster than most of the other guys, so he was able to swing it out. You got to be patient and sometimes take that inner hole between the tackle and the guard, not try to squeeze it out around the edge every time.
All right, we got the Dallas Cowboys at pick 27.
Does anybody really care?
Jerry Jones cares.
Jerry Jones is the worst owner in pro sports other than nutting. Zing. I had to get a pirate bash in there.
Terrible, terrible.
Well, the Dallas Cowboys, their biggest priority is bringing in a top-end defensive tackle, either through free agency or the draft. Another big priority for me is bringing back DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have them taking Melvin Gordon or Todd Gurley. And I could actually see Jerry Jones getting sold on Todd Gurley. He loves these big-name players.
That's it. You have one big game, and you look like you're fast, and I'm surprised he didn't take Johnny Rehab last year.
One big game. Todd Gurley was a beast in college, man.
Until he broke his leg.
Yeah, but
now
they have a lot of
in rehab.
They got a lot of holes to fill, and really, they can look to draft the best available.
Usually around pick 27, you always are taking best available, and if you're not, then you're in some trouble.
They could go wide receiver here, bring some top-end wide receiver to play opposite of Dez Bryant, but I really don't like anyone at this point. Other things they could shore up, outside linebacker, inside linebacker, and D-end, and they could use a tight end to eventually replace Jason Witten.
Witten is surefire Hall of Famer to me. Definitely they could use a tight end to replace him. Actually, Dash, when we were doing this mock draft together, I think I had Dallas taking Maxx Williams.
Correct.
You talked me out of it. Nose tackle Jordan Phillips from Oklahoma just seems like a better fit. It's 6'5", 329 pounds. He fits that need on the interior D-line for Dallas. I was just about to say they got to go up against Philly's strong running game with Shady McCoy twice a year, but I guess they ain't got to worry about that now. But Washington likes to run the ball. New York likes to run the ball if they can. So these teams are going to try to run the ball. You win the game, I've said it 100 times, I'm sure you're sick of hearing it, by controlling the line of scrimmage. That's how you win. This guy's huge. He's got 28 bench reps, 5'1", 740. That's not bad for an interior lineman his size. He can move. He gets into the quarterback's face. He puts pressure on him. He may not get to the quarterback, but he puts pressure on the quarterback all the time. He's stepping right into you. He's pushing his lineman into you. You know he's there all the time.
Yeah, their offense was good last year. Their defense was the big letdown. They thought they were going to have a good season, but they were really just mediocre, and they have to go defense here and shore up the front line more than anything.
One thing he's got to work on is he takes some plays off. And I know a lot of players do, especially young players. They don't got it in their head about what it takes to be number one. Fix that, and he's got it going. And he has a kid-and-play haircut.
Now, with us skipping Maxx Williams on the Cowboys pick and knowing Julius Thomas could be out of Denver at pick number 28 here, what do you think about Maxx Williams?
Well, you talked me out of Dallas, so I decided we should go with Denver.
Yeah, I think it's smarter to go with him here. I mean,
He makes sense for both teams. The reason he makes more sense for Denver, like you pointed out, is they most likely won't be bringing Julius Thomas back. Dallas still has Jason Witten for another year or two or however long he's going to keep playing. So he does make more sense for Denver. I just thought he made some sense for Dallas.
Now, another thing they could do is look at shoring up their offensive line. They were below average against the pass rush, and they were below average in run blocking too. So they really need to do something to make sure Peyton Manning can stay upright. And defensively, they need a nose tackle, and it wouldn't be surprising to see them take Jordan Phillips, who we just had Dallas taking the pick before.
I've read a lot of things that says Denver's going to try to run the ball a little bit more this year, and not that Peyton's going to take a back seat to the offense, but they don't want Manning to have to throw the ball for 5,000 yards this year. They want him to be able to have like a regular good quarterback season in today's standards. 30 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, low picks, high completion percentage. They don't want to have to make Peyton win the games for them. They want to put the players around Peyton and take the pressure off of him. So this would be a great pick, Maxx Williams. Look what Peyton did for Dallas Clark. I mean, he builds these tight ends up and spits them out to big contracts.
Well, he's only going to be playing with him 1 year.
Maybe 2.
All right, from Peyton's new team to Peyton's old team. Pick 29, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, they have a lot of team needs. They're a good team, yeah, but they need an inside linebacker, a nose tackle, a guard. They could use a guard. They need help in their secondary. They need a wide receiver. They need an edge rusher, and they need a running back. What do you think about that, Indianapolis fans? I bet you're going to hate on me now.
If they need all those things, how did they make it to the playoffs? Andrew Luck, baby.
Andrew Luck. One thing they got to do is lower the number of hits on Andrew Luck.
Yeah, believe that. He can't be hitting the bong that many times. I mean, he can't be getting hit by these defensive linemen that many times, or else he's not going to last.
Like I was saying, though, at running back, they have that Daniel Herron. I know you like that guy.
They tendered him an offer, actually, so I think they're going to try at least to have him part of their platoon.
Definitely, but he's not a 3-down back for sure.
No.
They need to bring someone else in here, and they could probably find that later in the draft. Wide receiver, Reggie Wayne's not going to return.
No, they actually announced that the other day. Poor Reggie. He should just retire. I don't want to see him play anywhere else. I loved him.
Yeah, so they're going to have to fill that position. T.Y. Hilton's an excellent receiver out there.
They had a young guy step up last year, too. I forget his name. He did pretty well. They need to get younger on defense, it looks like, too, right?
Yeah, Robert Mathis, he's going to be turning 34 in February. They're not sold on Bjorn Werner. So they could use a pass rusher, but all the best ones are going to be off the board at this point. It doesn't seem like it would be a smart move to take one here. Their safety, Mike Adams, is 34 years old, but he's going to be a free agent, although he is expected to be back. But you're going to have to find someone to fill his role eventually here, because he's definitely at the back end of his career.
Yeah, and you don't want to let this team get too old too fast and crumble behind Andrew Luck. You got your chance right now to win. He's in the prime of his career. You need to hurry up, not rebuild. You need to retool quickly. One season. You need to hit on these couple 3 draft picks. And like you said, they need pass rush help. It's not there right now at pick 29. So what's the next best thing to do? Pick somebody to stop their pass rush. And that guy is DJ Humphries, the offensive lineman from Florida.
Yeah, I'm feeling this guy. Actually, a lot of people have him moving up the list pretty quick.
Yeah, he had a good combine. He's 6'5", 307. 5'12", 40-yard dash, 26 bench reps, 31-inch vertical for a big guy. Big guy's got ups. Wonder if he can dunk it.
Doing the Humphries dance.
Doing the Humphrey hump. He plays nasty. He's got a lot of toughness. He kind of, look at his picture. He looks mad. It's like, I don't even want to be taking his picture right now. He's probably going to beat up the cameraman as soon as he's done. A couple problems, I think, with him, though. He's a little bit of a leaner and a lunger. Relying on his size and his ability athletically over the other guys, he needs to not take plays off, not fall off balance. You got to be on it every play. You don't want Luck getting smashed on your watch.
That's one of the biggest problems they got to fix, is just keeping Andrew Luck upright. The reason they have pick 29 is because of him, and without him, they would have pick 2.
Yes, we've seen what happened when they didn't have him. They got pick 1, and that's how they got him.
Yeah, you just sit Peyton Manning for a year, get the
Believe
number
it.
1 pick, take the, oh, look, we got the next Peyton Manning.
Why not? That's what I would have done. Penguins did it with Mario Lemieux. What about another team that transitioned from one great quarterback to another? The Green Bay Packers at number 30.
Yeah, Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers.
Brett Favre, boom.
Now, Aaron Rodgers is going to lose one of his biggest targets from last season in Randall Cobb.
Yeah, Randall Corn on the Cob's probably going to be gone. The team released A.J. Hawk and Brad Jones. Both of them were their starting inside linebackers. A little bit of disarray I feel going on in Green Bay. Not that they're going to be a bad team. They'll probably still at least compete for their division. But they kind of got to retool also after winning the Super Bowl in 2010.
Yeah, A.J. Hawk was a letdown last year, and really they ended up playing Clay Matthews at inside linebacker a little bit. And you and I actually read conflicting reports, I think. I read that they want to move Clay Matthews to the outside and look at drafting an inside linebacker to play next to Sam Barrington, but you heard they want to keep Clay Matthews inside.
Yeah, that's what I heard. We need to get a hold of Easy's sources because he's got the beer sources, and they got good beer up in Green Bay. Beer and cheese.
Well, they need to decide what they want to do with Clay Matthews. Do they want him to be an inside linebacker or an outside linebacker? If they want him to be inside, then they might want to not take what we have here in Paul Dawson because he is an inside linebacker and you wouldn't need him at that point.
Well, maybe they don't want him to play inside, but if they don't have anybody better, they know he's their best option.
Right.
But I like Paul Dawson, the inside linebacker out of TCU here for Green Bay. He's a good player. He's fallen down a little bit on some people's boards. He had a little bit of a shaky combine. I'm sure as soon as he gets to his pro day and does everything in his own place with his own people, it'll be better. He'll be fine. Dawson's 6 foot, 235 pounds. He's flexible. He's an agile athlete. He has good lower body build. He has outstanding instincts. He sees what's happening on the field kind of before it happens. He ran a 4.9 340. Like I said, he didn't have a great pro day. He's not a wrap-up tackler, so he needs a little bit of work in that department, but who doesn't anymore in the NFL? He freelances a little bit too much sometimes, so that'll get you in trouble if you're playing in a defense that's based on scheme and not athleticism. But if he can fall in line with what his coaches say and he improves a little bit on some of those poor combine results, he may be gone before Green Bay even gets to pick.
Well, if that happens, there's a strong possibility that McKinney would be the one that falls to him, and they could go that direction.
Right.
There's a couple other guys that they've been talking about that could end up in the back end of the first round. In Denzel Perryman, you've seen in a couple mock drafts. Eric Kendricks is another guy that's starting to be talked about as a first-round guy. And Stephon Anthony is another possibility.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them actually jump Dawson on some people's boards. But like I said, I believe that's just a product of the poor combine, and the pro day will fix all that.
Yeah, Mel Kiper don't know crap.
He's got weird hair.
He's creepy.
He looks like a robot. They always make it look like him and McShay are like have good friendly banter. They probably effing hate each other. They probably spit in each other's food in the cafeteria.
Well, I tell you what, if I was either one of them, I'd hate myself and the other one.
Todd McShay's a little douche.
All right, let's move on to pick number 31.
Super Bowl teams, 31 and 32. I hate both of them with such a passion. I hate both quarterbacks with such a passion. And I hate both coaches with such a passion. I just had to get that out.
See, I don't mind the Seahawks as much.
They're beat.
The thing they really need to look at most in the draft is depth. And they necessarily aren't desperate for help at any one position. Yeah, they're going to lose Maxwell. They're going to have to fill a need there. But really, the main thing here, I'd try to find weapons for Russell Wilson.
You better put some weapons around him because as soon as Marshawn Lynch retires, he's going to be garbage.
Come on now.
You heard it here first, folks. I think a good fit at 31 here for Seattle would be the wide receiver Dorial Green-Beckham out of Missouri.
Yeah.
He's 6'5", 237 pounds, and runs a 4.49 40. Only a measly 13 bench reps, though, for somebody that big. So maybe that says he's just like a little girl.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about this guy, but his talent is undeniable, and he could end up being the best receiver in his draft if everything fell the right way. And putting him in Seattle doesn't hurt.
The talent and the body size is there. His play strength is a major concern, like we said with the bench reps. He struggles to free himself from press coverage, which is weird for a guy that big. He runs sloppy, rounded routes, and he fails to set up his breaks. But, like you just said, he's going to Seattle, where it seems like Pete Carroll can coach anybody and get the best out of everyone. If he goes there in that environment where he doesn't have to be the man, all he has to do is fit in, maybe that pressure being taken off of him helps.
They got a lot of future money tied up in contract extensions they're going to have to finally work out too. Russell Wilson and linebacker Bobby Wagner are both going to take a lot of money to sign, and they just put some money in Marshawn Lynch too.
The reason why it's so hard to be a dynasty in the NFL anymore is because all it takes is 2 or 3 straight years of winning a lot of football games, and those players coming off their rookie contracts all start wanting more, so you have to decide which ones to get rid of, which ones to keep, and hope you hit on those draft picks while you were winning.
I tell you what, if Russell Wilson stinks like you say he does, he's good enough. He can go play baseball.
Maybe.
Let's go on to number 32, the final pick here, the New England Patriots Super Bowl winners.
Cheaters!
Their needs on offense are running back, so Todd Gurley is definitely a possible option here, and they could use a guard too. Defensively, they need a D tackle. Vince Wilfork is gone. They cut him, correct?
How do you cut Vince Wilfork? It's crazy to me.
And they could also use a safety.
You know what else they could use? Morals. Ethics. Learn how to play the game the right way, you freaking cheaters.
But really, unless they think Shaq Thompson can play safety, there's not a safety they can draft here. D-tackle they could possibly draft if someone like Eddie Goldman fell. But one thing is they really don't have to draft the first round at any 4 of those positions, and they could add a wide receiver to help Tom Brady out this year. Jalen Strong's a possibility, and Brashad Perryman, but we're going to stick with what we had in our first mock because we love his name, Devin Funchess.
Funchess. A lot of people are listing him as a tight end now, so he's kind of a tweener tight end wide receiver.
Still looking to replace Aaron Hernandez.
He's 6'4", 232 pounds. He's a big receiver with the ability to mismatch corners in the red zone. He has long legs. He covers a lot of ground in a straight line. He transitions smoothly from catch to run, which is good for a young guy. A lot of people, as soon as they catch the ball, they don't know what the hell to do with it. A couple weaknesses, his pass catching seems labored. When you see him catch it, he's almost excited that he actually caught the football. Holy hell, I caught the ball. He allows throws into his frame, so a lot of balls are bouncing off of him. He doesn't catch the ball real well with his hands. He was tagged with 20 drops over the last 3 seasons. But the Patriots like a guy like this. Big, strong, enough speed. Look at Gronk. I mean, all Gronk is a slow receiver because he doesn't, I mean, he blocks. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he doesn't block like the prototypical tight end does. I hate the Patriots, so nothing against you, Funchess. And if you want to follow us on Twitter at @bet_the_spread, I'll love it. But if they take you, I hope you fail.
Come on now.
I hope everybody in New England fails.
I like Shane Vereen.
Shane Vereen. I hate that dude, too.
How about Mike Vrabel?
I hate him, too.
You hate Mike Vrabel. Randy
Yes,
Moss?
I love Randy Moss.
There you go. We found one.
He was only a Patriot because he wanted to try to win a Super Bowl. Well, that wraps up Mock Draft 2.0 for the spread. 2 long hours for Dash. I know he's feeling a little labored. I put him to work too hard this week. I want to thank you, Dash, for doing all this research with me. Thank you, fans, for listening. I want to thank the 20-something followers we've gained since the last time we put out a mock draft. We love all the support. Love all the comments you guys are leaving. If you question any of our picks, you want to have an intelligent conversation about it, feel free to hit us up on Twitter at @bet_the_spread. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to that YouTube channel and keep hitting them thumbs up. Peace.